We often think of history as a clear, logical story. Civilizations rose in different corners of the world, separated by oceans too vast to cross, and for thousands of years they supposedly developed in complete isolation. But what happens when that story no longer fits the evidence? What happens when a Sumerian bowl is unearthed in South America, a Roman head appears in Mexico, or a Norse coin is found buried in Native American soil? These artifacts don't belong to the places where they were discovered, and yet, they are undeniable proof that something about our understanding of the past is incomplete. Were ancient people far more advanced than we realize? Or was something else guiding them? Hidden forces, lost knowledge, maybe even visitors from beyond? Tonight, we'll uncover 6 of the most mysterious artifacts ever found, objects that just might rewrite history itself. In 1936, near the small town of London, Texas, a couple exploring a riverbank stumbled upon something extraordinary. Half buried in a lump of stone was a hammer. Its wooden handle had partially fossilized, while its iron head remained perfectly intact, sealed inside the rock as though nature had built a vault around it. When studied, some geologists claimed the stone around it could be over 100 million years old, dating back to the age of dinosaurs. Yet the hammer itself looked anything but primitive. The iron was remarkably pure, far beyond what we'd expect from ancient tools, and its design seemed deliberate, even modern. If true, that would mean the hammer existed long before humans were even supposed to exist. Skeptics argue it was a more recent tool, and that the rock formed around it through a natural process called concretion. But if that's the case, why was it found in such a remote place, far from mines or industry? And why has its iron resisted rust for so long? For some, the London hammer is not just a tool, it's a riddle. Could it be evidence of a lost civilization, or perhaps even something? High in the Bolivian mountains, near the legendary Lake Titicaca, lies another enigma: the Fuente Magna bowl. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary ancient vessel, worn, heavy, unremarkable. But inside its surface are inscriptions that should not exist in South America. The markings resemble cuneiform writing, the script of the Sumerians, one of the world's first civilizations, born thousands of years ago in Mesopotamia on the other side of the world. How could such writing end up in Bolivia? Did ancient people cross the oceans long before we think they could? Or could 2 civilizations, separated by thousands of miles, somehow share the same script? Most scholars dismiss the bowl as a hoax, but here's the problem: no one has ever proven it fake. The bowl exists. The symbols are real, and no one can agree on how they got there. For some, it's proof of global connections long before history admits. For others, it hints at knowledge passed down from mysterious sources we still don't understand. The Fuente Magna bowl isn't just an artifact, it's a question carved in stone, one that refuses to be answered. In the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, archaeologists uncovered something even stranger. While excavating in southern Iraq, they found small statues dating back over 7,000 years, relics of the forgotten Ubaid culture. At first they seemed ordinary, simple carvings of humans. But when the dust was cleared, their faces were revealed, and they didn't look human at all. Long skulls, slanted unblinking eyes, thin-scaled bodies. They looked more like reptiles than people. Some appeared to be performing rituals, all carved with careful precision. The Ubaid left no written records, no myths, no stories to explain who these figures represented. Were they gods worshipped by the Ubaid? Symbols of power? Or something far more mysterious? Some researchers suggest they could represent visitors, not of this earth. Others believe they are echoes of serpent-like beings preserved in ancient memory. Mainstream scholars dismiss these ideas as exaggeration, claiming they were simply stylized artwork. But the truth is, no one knows why some of the earliest people in history would carve such eerie figures. Today, the Ubaid Lizard Figurines sit in museums, staring with their unblinking reptilian eyes, silent reminders that humanity's earliest chapters may have been far stranger than we think. In 1933, deep in the mountains of central Mexico, archaeologists uncovered an ancient burial site. Among the pottery, jewelry, and traditional ornaments, they found something that should not have been there: a small clay head with features unmistakably Roman. The nose, the beard, the style, it looked nothing like Aztec or Mayan art. But there was a problem. The grave dated back to around 900 AD, centuries before Europeans were supposed to have crossed the ocean. Rome itself had already fallen by then. So how could a Roman-style artifact end up in Mexico? Some argue it's evidence that sailors from the Old World reached the Americas long before Columbus, journeys forgotten by history. Others suggest it may have passed through vast trade networks that spanned oceans we once thought were impossible to cross. Skeptics dismiss it as a modern object that somehow slipped into the site, but soil analysis suggested it had been undisturbed for centuries. If authentic, the Tekaxic-Calix-Tlahuaca head would be staggering proof of contact between Rome and the pre-Columbian Americas, something no history book acknowledges. Yet, the artifact still exists, quietly challenging everything we think we know. In 1957, a man digging in the forests of Maine unearthed a small silver coin. At first, it seemed ordinary, but experts later identified it as a Norse penny, a Viking coin over 1,000 years old. The problem? According to history, Vikings only reached parts of Canada, never Maine. So how did the coin end up there? Some suggest Vikings traveled farther south, trading directly with Native Americans. Others believe the coin passed from hand to hand, carried across tribes until it was eventually lost. Another possibility is that Vikings explored much deeper into North America than history admits, leaving behind quiet traces still waiting to be found. Skeptics argue it could have been dropped by a modern collector, but the site where it was discovered was ancient, filled with native artifacts untouched by modern hands. So how could a Viking coin cross an ocean, survive centuries, and end up in the soil of Maine? The answer remains unknown. Finally, in 1890, miners in Russia's Ural Mountains unearthed something astonishing. A massive wooden statue carved from larch, standing over 17 feet tall. When tested, the wood was found to be more than 12,000 years old, twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids. Known as the Shigir Idol, it is the oldest wooden sculpture ever discovered. What makes it even more mysterious are the carvings etched across its surface. Zigzags, faces, geometric shapes, a language or code from a world long gone. Some believe the markings tell a creation story, others think it's a map, or even a warning passed down from forgotten people. But no one has ever been able to decipher it. How did hunters, living before farming even existed, carve something so massive and complex? What knowledge did they possess that we no longer have? To stand before the Shigir Idol is to feel the weight of another age, a reminder that long before recorded history, humanity was already shaping symbols and mysteries that still endure today. The idol has outlasted empires, languages, and civilizations, yet its true meaning remains hidden.